Good morning. Good afternoon. We are live today. I'm so excited about this interview because Luis and I have been chatting for quite some time on social media. And when he said that he would come on and talk about, really, he wanted to talk about Prince and music, but we also started talking a little bit. Yes, he's wearing his Purple Rain shirt. But something else is going to come out of this conversation that I'm also excited about. Luis wants to bring awareness to diabetes. So we'll talk about that too. And then, of course, we both live in the same city. So we're going to talk about San Diego a bit. So welcome, Luis.
Thank you.
Being here. Thank you for jumping
my
in.
Pleasure. My pleasure. My pleasure.
So Luis and I met through Traveling Stories, which is one of San Diego's most phenomenal nonprofits. So I'm gonna plug them just for a second, and I'm gonna ask Luis you a little bit about that. But Traveling Stories is an organization that helps children fall in love with reading, and they do that by setting up story tents throughout San Diego, inviting children into the story tents to read with reading mentors. During lockdown, I believe they've changed it up a little bit. They now have mentors that they can read with online. But it helps children fall in love with reading. And there's a lot of statistics as to why that's important, why that matters. I was lucky enough to work with them for about 2 years. And Traveling Stories, I wonder, Tim, if we can put that in the comments, their link, because they're just such a phenomenal local organization. Luis, how did you get involved with Traveling Stories?
I actually met Emily through another mutual friend. I don't know. Do you know Noelle?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, she put on a golf tournament when she was just starting out her organization. And I happened to be in the group with Emily in it. And Emily was just chatting up the organization because I asked her about it. And I love what she was doing. So ever since, I don't even know how long ago that was. But ever since that day, I've been donating money every couple of weeks to her organization because I thought it was a phenomenal idea.
Absolutely phenomenal. And it's just expanded gloriously. And it's been one of the few nonprofits that's been able to really, I feel like, expand or do different things, be innovative during lockdown and do new things. And be very creative. So we got to meet through Traveling Stories, which again is one of San Diego's premier, most amazing nonprofits. In the UK, you might call it a charity or community organization. But then we started hitting it off in social media because Luis, you are the ultimate San Diego fan. Padres Twitter, I saw you over there. We won't talk about the Chargers because we all know what has happened there. But tell us a little bit. Tell us about Padres Twitter. What do the Padres mean to you?
Well, anything San Diego means anything to me. So, because I was obviously born and raised in San Diego, being a sports fan all my life. I was even a basketball fan. The Clippers left San Diego when I was 16.
I remember I went to one Clippers game, and Luis, I was in preschool.
Well, we won't talk about my age, but anyway. But no, I've grown up loving San Diego sports teams. So, when the Chargers left, it actually felt like I had broken up with somebody. I mean, it really hurt that bad. But the Chargers no longer mean anything to me. I mean, I still follow a lot of Charger fans I used to follow back in the day on Twitter because, I didn't, most of those people are cool people anyway, but, I just ignore all the Charger talk and stuff like that. But the Padres are the only major sports team we have here now. And I go to as many games as I can. But baseball has always been my favorite sport. Growing up, watching certain players play, being a big Tony Gwynn fan.
Yeah.
I mean, he made me appreciate baseball even more than I did back then.
Let's talk about Tony Gwynn and Tony Jr. because I think it's important. What any Padres fan is going to have some kind of appreciation for Tony. Why is that?
Because he meant everything to the San Diego community. I mean, he stayed in San Diego when he could have left several times for more money, better name recognition. Because for a long time, Tony Gwynn Sr. was kind of underappreciated because he was just basically a batting average guy.
Yeah.
But he did so much more than just get base hits, but he meant everything to the San Diego community. And I was really, really devastated when he passed away. I mean, it hit me very, very hard. And I'm not ashamed to admit that I cried very hard that day.
San Diego mourned his loss, and it wasn't just because he played for the Padres. That's what made his name, but he gave back to the community. I don't know if
Absolutely.
the world's aware how much he gave back. And now to see his son coming up and being such a big part of the community is a beautiful thing as well. I remember, go ahead.
I actually met Junior at a restaurant, and this was after his dad passed away. And I went up there and introduced myself to him, and I told him how much his father meant to the San Diego community. And he was really appreciative that I came up to him and said that. So he was very, very kind, and I'll never forget that.
Beautiful. Tim, I've taken over.
I'm going to go. Let's wind back away from the Padres and all the sports thing. As the more observant people might have noticed, in the back of Christelle's shot is James, who is a wonderful boyfriend from the UK. What would you say to somebody like James, who's going to San Diego for the first time? And what makes San Diego special, and what are the things to see? And what should James be seeing in San Diego, apart from Christelle, obviously?
Well, I mean, San Diego is probably one of the a hodgepodge of places that you can actually visit, because you can go to the beach. I mean, you can go to the mountains. You can see snow. You can see waves. I mean, the weather here for the majority of the time is excellent. I mean, it is December, so it is a little on the cooler side, but still, there is lots to see here. I mean, SeaWorld is a worldwide attraction. I mean, the one thing that always sticks into my mind is just the beaches. I mean, it's like that's what we're here for. But I've been here the majority of my life, and I'm going to be honest, I am not a beach person, so I don't really go to the beach a lot. But there is still a lot of things to see in San Diego. A lot of cool places. Downtown is excellent, because when the Padres built their stadium, they kind of revamped that whole gas lamp quarter, so it is amazing now, because it used to be a dump, but it is come back to life.
Okay, so you're obviously not at the beach, so are we to hypothetically say that you're indoors listening to music? What kind of music would you be listening to by any chance? Is there any particular artist that you really like and really want to talk about?
Well, I really have to think about that for a second. But Prince. I really like Prince a lot.
Is this before or after he was a symbol? So
I like him all the way. I like everything about him. It's whatever era it was.
What was the first Prince song that you heard, and what made you start that whole connection with Prince then?
It's actually the very first song I heard was a song called "Soft and Wet," which is off his second album, I believe. No, his first album. That was his little minor song. But I was a casual fan of his, even up to Purple Rain. I mean, I was still a very casual fan of his. I wasn't the fanatic that I am now. It was after Purple Rain when he released the album after Purple Rain in 1985, he released an album called Around the World in a Day. And it had one really popular song on there. Christelle probably remembers it, Raspberry Beret. But it was it was critically panned for the most part. But I loved it because Purple Rain came out in 1984, and this next album he put out came out a year later in '85, and it was completely different than Purple Rain, and that's what I loved about it. So once it got to that point, I started buying a lot of his older stuff, and everything was different. There was nothing, no album was the same. And as I got to look at it a little closer, I saw, written, composed, performed, produced by Prince. So he did everything on those albums. He sang, he played all the instruments. So this guy's very talented. So from that point on, I just started, when he put out new music, I would grab it, and I'm glad I did, because there's a vast array of musical genius out there that a lot of people don't know about.
You're often sending me, Luis, his hidden gems, as you call them. And it's kind of the music that many of us aren't as aware of. And I found it to be extremely spiritual. Point us in the direction of some of your favorite hidden gems and tell us why they are.
Well, because a lot of them, they don't get any airplay because they're not really radio songs. But the very last album that he put out before he passed away, it was an album called Hit and Run Part 2. And I sent you that song called Revelation. And those are the type of songs that I'm going to miss the most, where he's singing in a very, like a ballad. And it's just incredible. The way he sings it is just incredible to me, and stuff like that I will really miss the most. But there's lots of stuff that people have never heard before, and that really needs to be exposed, because the younger generation, they're not going to be really exposed to Prince. I mean, they'll hear of him, but they won't know his music.
So, I wasn't expecting to have to ask a question.
So please, this is our dynamic. I end up talking so much, I have to remind myself to stop talking.
Actually, there's three things we were going to talk about in this interview. I think I've probably forgotten about one, but let's talk briefly about your diabetes, because you are keen to talk about how when were you diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic, and can you tell us a bit about your story regarding that?
Well, I had become in 2016. I got diagnosed with type 2. I go every year for a physical, so that wasn't 2015. I wasn't even a pre-diabetic. In 2016, I was a full-on diabetic, and I had made a conscious effort to try to get into the best physical shape I could. So I was working out like crazy, and I had got up to about 200 pounds of pretty solid muscle. After I got diagnosed, I had to kind of change everything. But that's the key thing with people that are diabetic, is that if you get told you're diabetic, some people don't take it as seriously as they should, because it's truly a silent killer. Because if you don't manage it, you won't know. I mean, if you go to the doctor and they tell you that you need to do a better job of managing it, they don't really care. That's the big issue with people, is that the diabetes is not something that you should mess around with. You should take it seriously and do something about it. So, my father-in-law was a diabetic, and when I got diagnosed, my wife was really concerned about it, but I did tell her not to worry about it, because I'm the type of person, if I put my mind to something, I'm going to do it. So I changed my eating habits. I was still working out. I just wasn't working out with the heavy weights. I was doing a lot of reps, and I got I lost about 25 pounds, and I'm very lean now, but I still manage my diabetes even today, even though I don't really need to, but I still do.
Do you manage it with medication, or is that no longer needed?
I still take a pill every day. My doctor told me that I doesn't really matter if I take it or not, but she said I would prefer you take it. But it's mainly through diet. We decided when I saw the nutritionist for the first time after I got diagnosed, we decided well, actually my wife and I, because we couldn't see the nutritionist for about 3 weeks after I got diagnosed, my wife told me, I said, I think we should probably do about 150 carbs a day. So I just said, okay, and went with that. And when I saw the nutritionist, she says, that's actually a very good number for you. So generally in a day, I don't really go over that. So for me, it's become more of a routine, and I know what I should eat and what I don't eat. And it's hard for me being a Mexican because, this time of year we're having tamales for Christmas, but I haven't had a tamale since I got diagnosed, and that really that really hurts me.
Yes. Luis, I've been telling my boyfriend about tamales for Christmas, and that we need to. And I try to find them like in City Heights. Go to one of the people who make them there, or
I can actually send you a link to some places that sell them if you want.
Oh, please, yes, please do, because
okay.
Besides Grandma's Kitchen or Mom's Kitchen, I want to know where I can get the second best tamales in San Diego.
Well, that's always up for debate, but when my mom, she passed away about 9 years ago. So, but every year we do a tamale making party. We still make tamales, although this year we weren't able to because my sister just had surgery. So it's the kind of a tradition, but this year it kind of got broken. But so everybody sent out a link to some certain places that sell that's supposedly really good, but we'll see.
Okay, send me some links. I'm excited.
I will. I'll send them to you.
So you changed your diet. What does that look like now?
That's the funny thing about it is that the only thing that I worry about is how many carbs I'm taking in. I'm not really concerned about what I eat. I mean, there's some things I obviously miss eating. Tamales is one of them. I really miss pizza until I found a place that actually has like a cauliflower crust pizza.
Oh.
And it's actually very tasty, and I was pleasantly surprised how good it was. So that's pretty much what I eat now. When I want pizza, I'll have a cauliflower plus pizza from a place called Blaze. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Yeah, okay. And it's becoming more popular, the cauliflower pizza crust. So
yeah, I once I got used to it, it's very tasty. I mean, there's not a whole lot of things that I actually miss. People ask me, why don't I, you can eat that. I said, yeah, I can. I just choose not to.
Yeah.
It's that's the easiest thing for me to do is say no. That's why I don't eat tamales, is because it's if I have one, I'm gonna want more. So that's why I just say no.
Hi, Tim. Our friend Tim Sohn is saying hi to all of us. Hi, Tim.
Hello, Tim.
Yeah. So this is the other Tim. You're making it all very confusing. Tim. Do you go to Mexico much? I mean, obviously, like San Diego's just across the border. Have you got relatives on the other side, or the other side?
I literally live 5 miles away from the border,
Oh,
but I
okay.
haven't been to Mexico probably in about 30 years. So it's not a Tijuana, especially Tijuana. I'm not especially fond of that city, but I do have relatives there. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, Luis, I want to know, what is it like growing up in San Diego? Tim, yes, I'm drinking coffee. No donuts though, FYI. Luis, what is it like growing up? You have such a big, beautiful family. You're together. You celebrate all the time. What is it like growing up in such a beautiful, big Chicano family in San Diego?
For me, it's always been, growing up, it wasn't always the best. Being the 13th of 14 kids, when we had a very small house. Okay, when growing up in my parents' house, I mean, we had 3 bedrooms, so all the boys in one room, all the girls in the other. But if you didn't get to the dinner table, you didn't eat until people got done eating. So it was it was very interesting experience. But no, I love everything about being in a big family. It's really funny because once I started having my own family, as loud as we were in our family, I like a real quiet house.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a lot different now that I'm a grandfather. The kids making all these noises and stuff like that. So it's definitely a different with the grandchildren as opposed to my kids.
Yeah. Tell us again, you have how many children and how many grandchildren?
Three kids. They're all adult. The youngest is 20. He just turned 24 this month. The grandkids. I have four plus a step grandson from my daughter-in-law from a previous relationship. There's one passed away, and but the twin grandsons will be two in what's today? Wednesday. Tomorrow. There'll be two
Oh,
Oh.
tomorrow. My granddaughter will be 4 in March,
Uh-huh.
and Aiden I think is 14. But yeah, no, it's I mean, one of the best experience ever is being a grandparent, and I love it. Absolutely love it.
How is that different from being a parent? I hear it's different. I hear it's phenomenal. How is it different? Tell us.
It's different because the only thing you have to do is love them, and
yeah.
because you're not really raising them, that's what their parents are for. Uh, so all you do is love them, and that's it. It's because with the kids are different. I mean, you kind of have to be, everything with them. You have to raise them, be a little disciplinary with them, But it's different when you're a grandparent. It's nothing but love. And I know my wife and I enjoy being the grandparents. That is phenomenal to us.
It's nice to be able to send the kids home. That's what Tim said. Our friend Tim.
Well, with everything being in the lockdown and stuff, the kids haven't
Yeah.
actually been. They haven't been to our house. So
Uh,
I know my granddaughter has been, pre-COVID, but the twins they don't come inside the house because my son and daughter-in-law they take every precaution when it comes to their kids. So and I don't blame them. So
That's smart. Have you introduced them to the Padres yet?
no, but my granddaughter is definitely going to be. I already said that to my son. I said, she is going to Padre games with me
Have
because
you bought
I did such a lousy job with my own kids.
Yeah. Oops, we lost him.
Oh.
Luis, we lost your sound
Okay.
somehow.
we had him back for a second.
Somehow we lost your sound.
It's
I
kind
don't
of
know.
like when it's people of the UN. It's kind of like
The UN. No, not yet.
no, can't hear you. It's this mic is gone, I think.
Okay, no, there I am.
There you
Yeah.
are. You
I'm
can
back.
speak.
Sorry. I'm wearing these earbuds and I'm not really used to them, so sorry.
You're Tim, agree. I think you might agree with me. We've done other interviews on phones and with earbuds, and you are probably the best phone interview we've had. This is everything is clear and you can hear you.
Yeah, I'll say that actually.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I have a good phone, so.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you and Christelle a question.
Okay.
Given that you both live in the same metropolitan area, you haven't actually met in person yet, have you? So have you got any plans to ever meet up, or is that a 2022 goal?
Okay, you know what, Luis? I'll invite myself to your house. I want to meet your wife. I want to meet your family. Can you adopt me?
I guarantee you that unfortunately that's probably not going to happen. My wife is worse than my son when it comes to restrictions. So no, because my wife recently had surgery. She got diagnosed with breast cancer back in January. And she had a mastectomy in March, but she's good now. I mean, she's cancer free now. But we're still taking every precaution when it comes to her because she's still recovering.
And I'm glad
because this whole thing it's a long process. So with reconstructive surgery, and she's not completely done with everything. But the main thing is that she's cancer free.
That's a big deal. I'm glad to hear that. Tell her that we reach out and give her big hugs.
Christelle, I have to wear a hazmat suit at the end of the garden.
Someday we'll all have dinner together. I want your family to adopt me, so I'm not letting you off the hook with that. Tim Stone says, sending your wife love and prayers, Luis. I'm so glad that she's cancer free, and I'm glad you're taking all these precautions. That's so important.
Yeah, no, that was a real scary time, and we didn't make that public. My wife didn't want to make it public, so I respected her wishes. But obviously my family knew, and it was just really hard time to go kind of through that. And in reality, she handled it much better than I did.
Yeah.
So, but it turned out good, and I'm just happy that things are better.
Do you think having such a strong, beautiful, loving family helps you through these hard times? Because you've had quite a few challenges, and you're open about a lot of them.
Yeah, no, that is for sure. It definitely helps having support of a lot of people, and the diabetic challenge that I kind of went through, that was a lot I posted a lot of stuff on social media going through I would call it my fitness journey, as you want to call it. But this one was private. But yeah, it definitely felt very different because we had mainly the support of my siblings.
Yeah.
And everybody like that. So, and when there's just a lot to it. So, I mean, I know that we're almost out of time, but yeah, there's definitely more to it than that. And I could probably tell you privately, Christelle. I don't want to put it out there.
Yeah. So let's end on a more cheerful note. Let's go back to Prince. What would you say are your top 5 recommended Prince songs, just in general, ones we've heard of or not heard of?
I could tell you albums, not songs, because people always ask me what my favorite Prince song, and it's just like, who's your favorite child? I can't do it.
Yeah,
I cannot do it. As far as songs are concerned, there's just so many out there that are so good that I couldn't give you. But I could definitely give you my top 5 albums.
Do top 5 albums then? Yeah.
Number 1 is Sign of the Times,
1987,
his best album ever. And if you guys want to fight me on that, you can. Number 2 is Purple Rain, 1984. Number 3, 1999. Those 3 I consider masterpieces, just complete masterpieces. Number 4 would be the Emancipation album, the album he released after he broke free of the Warner's record contract. And maybe I can only do top 4 because 5 through 40 are kind of all mixed in as one. But yeah, definitely, if anybody has never heard Sign of the Times, it's different than Purple Rain. It's more, it has a more diverse sound to it. Purple Rain is definitely more poppy. It's definitely more of a pop sound. This one is definitely more diverse. And I sent you one for a song called The Cross on that album. I don't know if you ever listened to it, but you probably didn't.
I need to. I was telling my boyfriend today, I didn't realize Prince was so spiritual, and the rhythm, the music, the lyrics. I've started, ever since you started sending me the music, I've started listening to the lyrics, and they're very healing. And I'm very grateful to you for doing that, just so you know. You've introduced me to some very healing music. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. And that's one of the main things I enjoy doing, is introducing people to Prince and certain songs that I know that they have never heard, because there is so much good material out there, and people really need to listen carefully to his stuff.
Absolutely. Luis, if our friends want to find you on Twitter and hear more about the Padres or San Diego, or even follow your journey as you kind of go through the diabetic scenario, where can they find you on Twitter?
Well, it's very simple. If you see my name on the side there, it's at Mr. Luis M. Guerrero.
Yeah. And you can scan the QR code. That's the only contact detail I put for you, actually, your Twitter address. But it's like,
oh, okay, cool.
There. So Yeah, well, it's on the website where it's got your Twitter address as the bottom thing of it. So
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, last minute.
Thank
This
you.
is, again, our first time actually meeting in person-ish online.
yeah,
and having this
it's a baby steps. Maybe like in a couple of months, like you can.
We'll arrange for something. I'm sure that we will, because yeah, I would love to meet you.
Awesome. Thank you for being here, Tim. This was
No
fun.
problem. Thank you.
And
Thank you for having me, guys.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
This is terrifying for me.
I've made more money in the last 3 years than I did in the previous 7.
It's just cliche shit, you know?